we continued the class saying, so what does this do for me? How do I now better grasp the ungraspable, know the unknowable through the rays and the sun and the word and the speaker? And the bottom line, joy. This is all about joy. The infinity of God, which I now understand a little bit, and my finiteness, and we're all one. He's in me. Which leads to a section of Tanya that the Lubavitcher Rebbe chose as something every child should think about every single day. Really helping a very existential angst, a very existential question, and giving us such a positive answer. Please feel free to subscribe. So, what did you gain? So we spoke here last week about the words and the speaker. Now we're speaking about the rays and the sun in planet sun. What did you gain in understanding the concept of creation not changing God? How do you now better relate to that, or better can grasp it than you did before? Anyone sees how those metaphors, those parables help them understanding God's unchanging reality despite having creation?
For me, I don't know. Whenever I think about it, I just think about how absolutely teeny tiny we are, like nothing. Like what the Eibishter is beyond our comprehension on any level. It's so huge, it's so vast, it's beyond huge or vast. And then I think about, oh my gosh, we are Yidden and we have a piece of God in us. Like, whoa, what in the world? That's what that's the space it takes me to. That's
pretty much the space the Rebbe wants it to take you to. So that's good. That's good. Good. Yeah. That's exactly what we want to get to.
Baruch Hashem.
Baruch Hashem, you're on target. Anyone else? Anyone else that gained something from thinking of these ideas and trying to wrap their brain around things that, of course, in essence, are incomprehensible? Like we could talk a lot of words, so it sounds like it's supposed to be comprehensible, but in certain essence piece, it's beyond, but we could still try to wrap our brains around it. And these metaphors are like scaffolding for us.
How about it's Sarah, good Yantif. It's amazing that you know, we're talking about the sun, you know, all these humongous things, but still each and every one of us is Hashem's only child. So there's the vastness, but there's like the most powerful zoom in on me lens, not, you know, not to, you know, to
exactly
get in,
which is a different way of sort of expressing something pretty similar to Yehudis. Exactly. That's the point we're supposed to come to. Exactly what Sarah's saying, exactly what Yehudis said. That however much we understand or don't understand, what we walk away with is like, wow. And then there's me. And I have such a relationship. Yes, the miracle of our very existence.
And now in Elul, Hashem is out in the field.
The sun came to planet Earth. Exactly. And the more we understand this, and of course we don't really understand this, but each time we hear the concepts, we're getting it a little bit more, like those drops penetrating Rabbi Akiva's rock. So if you've learned this chapter 5 times before, 10 times before, 20 times before, awesome. Each time it's a little bit more of a, oh, okay, but I still need another 20 times. No problem. Drop by drop, we're comprehending what's incomprehensible. And it just makes more and more that impact of like, wow, God, creation. And yet, as Sarah said, so close to me. And it's Elul. He came to my door, smiling, giving me so much warmth and love and nurturance, drenching me with his compassion. You know, Elul is all about work, by the way.
Bring him there and hold him.
It's all about work. It's all about our work. And yet, what does the Alter Rebbe, the birthday of today, say? Just envision that compassion. Envision that smile. Envision feeling warmed by that smile. Because he's giving you a lot of power for you to step up to the plate and do all the work that we definitely need to be doing during these days. All right, so I'm really glad I got great feedback from Sarah and Yehudis. All right, that means we're getting this point one way or another. So let's continue. Now, it's very interesting. This chapter is deep, like it's deep. And yet, the Lubavitcher Rebbe selected 12 Torah passages that he wants every Jewish child to know. Now, a lot of people misunderstand and think he wants every Jewish child to be able to recite or to recite daily. If you actually look back to the original talks of the Lubavitcher Rebbe on this concept, he wants every Jewish child to know them, to understand them, to share and teach them to others. So every single one of us, sometimes I think, imagine I don't have at my fingertips, but the Rebbe surely does. All of Torah, all 5 books, and he pulls 4 verses. All of Talmud, think how big a shaf looks. And he pulls 4 quotes. All of Tanya, about 200 pages, so it's the smallest of anything, but it's chock full of those 200 pages, very concentrated information. And from all of Tanya, all 200 some pages, he pulls 4 quotes. And these 4 quotations, every one of us, in essence, the Rebbe would like us to think about, to understand it and think about it every single day. Now, what I find fascinating is 2 of those 4 quotes are in this chapter. It's like, that doesn't seem fair. You got so many chapters, only 4 quotes, and you put 2 from one chapter? From this chapter. So very interesting. We're about to read one of those quotes, and I'd like us afterwards to think a little like, why would this be one chosen? All right, so continuing. Lihine, the whole. Now we're getting to the point. If you really delve, right, put on your intellectual cap and you think deeply, God within creation, God beyond creation, God at the point where what is creation? God who is everything and all, and there's nothing but him, and creation in no way changed him. He was, is, and will be. If you really delve into these very, very deep ideas, what's supposed to happen? There's supposed to be an emotional response. As Yehuda spoke of an emotional response, as Sarah spoke of an emotional response. What is that emotional response? Yismach libo. You will feel such joy. V'sagel nafsho. Your soul will rejoice. Af gilas v'ramein. An enormous joy. B'chol lev v'nefesh ma'od. On every level of your being, you will be so happy. It's like, whoa, I'm stretching my brain. Instead of like brain freeze, I'm happy. Yes, the Rebbe says, if you get the point, you walk away ecstatic. Why are you so ecstatic? The emunah zu, with this piece of faith, this relationship of absolute belief to God on this reality. Ki rabahi, it's so great. Like Yehuda said, it's so awesome. It's so huge. Someone else just sent me a comment on it. I wasn't able to read as I was. Beautiful metaphor. Yes, that idea of but Goldie just posted. We're looking at childbirth in a very, very miniature way, sort of this whole process and the miracle of that. But now we're looking at it in big. There's point is look at it in big. When you look at it in big, you just get so overwhelmed by the vastness of it. And yet, I have a piece in that. I have a piece in that. That's my God. That miracle of our existence, that miracle that we're comparing here to the childbirth. Yes. Goldie phrased it so beautifully. In case you're not reading the chat, read the chat. The microcosm is echoing the macrocosm. Exactly. And when we go to that macrocosm, we're like, wow, the vastness of God. And I have a little piece in that. I have a relationship. That's my Father. That's actually deeper than my Father. That's me. That's my stake in this, my belief in this, which, how do I even believe in it? We're going to discuss that. Ki rabahi, this is so great, ki he kirvas elokim mamish. Because with all of this vastness, God is so intimately close to me, to each one of us, to each and every one of us, that huge, beyond fathoming, and me. And we're one. We're absolutely one. V'zeh kol ha'adam. Now we begin one of the 4 quotes the Rebbe chose from all of Tanya. V'zeh kol ha'adam. This is the entirety of man. V'sachlis briyaso. This is the purpose of his creation. In case you were wondering, you're existentially why you're here. Well, in Tanya, we a few times revisit that question. And we give a few answers, all of which are true, and all of which are just different facets of the same point. So looking at it from this end, the purpose of your creation, why you exist, and not only why you exist, but why does anything exist? Why does all creation exist? Why do all the supernal levels, all the spiritual realities, the 4 spiritual worlds we know of, and all the ones beyond that we don't even talk about in Tanya, the lower realities, our whole physical Milky Way galaxy system. Why does it all exist? To create for God a home, a dwelling place, an abode in this physical world. As explained later, starting in chapter 36, when we speak about redemption at length. So the Rebbe is saying here, and this is so amazing because this is profound, but this is simple. Compared to our time before, this is simple. The Rebbe said, why are we going into this? And as I told you, when we introduced this chapter, the purpose of Tanya is not to make us theologians. Nope. The purpose of Tanya is not to make us philosophers. No. The purpose of Tanya is to be Jews that have a relationship with God. That is the purpose of Tanya. So why are we talking about all this deep stuff? Because it creates an emotional response. And the emotional response is joy. And that's what we said in the beginning of the chapter, meaning last week when we started this chapter, that if you feel a little blah, if you feel down, if you feel unexcited, if you're stuck in the grind and can't get off, and like, what's the point? Yesterday was hard, today is hard, tomorrow's probably going to be hard, or boring, or draining, depleting. Where's this going? The Rebbe says, think about these ideas. Think about God. Think about his hugeness, his vastness, unfathomable vastness, and recognize that you and he are so close, that you and he are one, that creation didn't change him because creation is him. And of all of creation, nothing is more him than you, than me, than the Jew, soul in body. So if I get that, it's like, this is huge. He's huge. I'm nothing, but actually I'm huge. I don't know. Sometimes my brain actually goes in this direction. I guess that's when you learn Tanya. I can be sitting in like an airport or other places like that. And it's like, all people back. And I'm just like, I don't know, whatever I'm doing. Maybe I'm sitting waiting for a delayed plane. And obviously I'm inconsequential and irrelevant. And I think, they don't know the secret. The secret is this all exists because of me. Because I'm the Jew. I mean, if you're in Chicago airport, there might be others, but in other places there might not. Jew, I'm the reason for this all. I'm one with God. And everything else is just around that point. So the more your brain tries to stretch, to fathom how huge is God, and then say, and he and I are one in a way nothing else in creation is. God and the Jew, so one. Wow. And what comes from there is such joy. joy in our life, in our being one with the absolute creator of all. And then the Alter Rebbe took it to the point that the Rebbe quotes, this you should know is the purpose of why you exist. If you wonder, if you want to know why you exist, this is why you exist. And this is why all of creation exists. To take this God who's so beyond and yet who's so within, and to make this world his home. To make him revealed within his space. That this space, which is his, can express itself as his. That he can be revealed within himself, within his home, within creation. And that was the thought that the Rebbe chose from all of Tanya, some 200 around pages, 4 thoughts, 2 in this chapter, and this is the first of the 2 of this chapter. This is the purpose of creation that we should know. All of this that we said so far is to be able to make this reality God's home. So why do you think the Lubavitcher Rebbe selected this phrase, right? 1 of 4 from a work of almost 200 pages as something that he wants us to understand, to think about daily. How would it help you to think about this daily?
Can I just say what I would?
Yeah, sure.
So just personally, it's like if Hashem, who's so vast and who was even, I can't even say a who to, because it's like beyond even saying who, or it's beyond even thinking like here we think we're smart. There's like, it's mamish even there. It's like, doesn't matter. Whatever we are is like nothing. And then the fact that he decided to invest himself and clothe himself, hide himself here with us and within this world, it's like moment to moment, every detail is so, it's a symbiotic creation with Hashem of like, what does he want next and next and next? And it's like living in the dance of that connectedness.
SIM card in a separate bag.
Okay. You're saying as we think about it and as we understand it, it more and more makes us appreciate that dance.
Yes, it's like lean into it. It just like it for me, it just brings me to the place of like Mashiach is like when the union comes, it's the chasana. So Hashem wants us to connect to him. Like it's like almost like in a marriage, a husband and wife always want that the other one's always thinking of them, always, looking at everything as a connection. And sometimes things feel very disconnected. And it's like how the Eibishter in the world, like sometimes we just don't realize like this is like he's wanting us to connect. And like here's the Eibishter is so huge and we are so adat, but yet we have Eibishter in us. And he wants that connection because somehow he created us out of a desire.
What you're saying reminds me of a story with Lubavitcher Rebbe. What you're saying, it just resonates. The story just came to mind with Lubavitcher Rebbe that someone, it's a long story, maybe it's a famous story, I don't even know, but try to say it briefly in case it is. A man who had a real, probably was raised traditional and had a real feeling for God and a feeling as a Jew and was living or in love with a non-Jewish woman and came to the point where like they were going to get married. And he like felt bad in a sense because he really felt this is like disconnecting himself from God. I mean, he knows this is it, it's God, but like he had no choice, so to speak. So I mean, there's a number of such stories with Lubavitcher. I'm just telling one in case you've heard others and are confused. This is one of the many that I'm thinking of at the moment. So he decided he had to go to synagogue to say goodbye to God. And he goes into a shul. It was during the week. He goes to the ark. I don't know if he opened it or not, but he's literally standing in front of it and crying. He felt bad to say goodbye, but he didn't really see another option. And someone comes in the room and sees this person and whatever in such distress and what's going on. And he tells him the story. And the person says, you've got to speak to the Lubavitcher Rebbe. I don't know if anyone else can help you, but he can. What's to say? I'm marrying her. I don't know. Go speak to the Rebbe. This was like maybe in the 50s or 60s when the Rebbe would walk from his house to 770. So the person told him where to stand, that he could sort of like speak to the Rebbe, catch him as he's walking. And he did so, and the Rebbe passed, and he started talking, and he basically told him, like, you know, I love God, but I'm getting married to this non-Jewish woman. And basically, again, I'm not going to say all the back and forth. I just want to come to this point. Basically, he said, like, what difference does it make? Like, convince me. What difference does it make to God if I marry her or not? Like, I feel bad I'm cutting off God, but what difference does it make anything? And the ultimate point the Rebbe said to him, that got to him, said, because God is inside of you. And that's why it makes a difference. And when he heard that, he left her. And there's many different stories I can think of. They're all just jumping down my brain, where the Rebbe repeats and repeats that theme, which I think what Yehudis was saying to really get that point. She said that dance, that marriage, the husband, the wife wanting the other, but he's inside of us now. And that's why it's so intense. There's actually, this is on a gem video. You could Google it. You could watch it on YouTube or however you access gem videos. Really powerful video of a man in the 60s, also going through a lot of existential stuff, and came to the Rebbe with sort of that same point. Like he said, where is God? And the Rebbe said, everywhere. He said, I know, but where? And the Rebbe said, in a stone, in a tree. The Rebbe was sort of gesturing. People that were there then remembered it was very vivid. It was a very cold January day, and the Rebbe was talking to this very obvious hippie. And so he said, yeah, the stone and the tree. And the man said, I know, but where? And the Rebbe said, in your heart, if that's what you're asking. And that was the point. And that was what he needed to hear. So yes, Yehudis is right. That's where it's at. When we think of God in all of his enormity, and then say, and that's the God that's inside my heart, inside me. And that's why everything I do in either direction makes such a difference to him. Anyone else? Who else can have a thought on why the Rebbe, I mean, who are we to say, but from our perspective, either why do you think the Rebbe would choose this phrase as something every Jew should think of daily, or how does it help you? How would it help you to remember these ideas every single day?
But what I wanted to say is you said, I thought, okay, I guess you said feelings. Now you know
Anyone else? Goldie? Oh, I got a face. Thank you so much.
I know. I was actually thinking how sad I am that I can't see everybody. I don't know how you lecture when there's nobody to see. It's so difficult.
Well, Fega Chaya graciously has her screen open, and now Goldie does. It's so nice.
I was going to say just that in this modern era, especially even during COVID, but in general, loneliness is such a big issue for people, to feel alone, to feel not connected. And yet the idea that is here is that we are always connected, that we're always part of the Eibishter, that the Eibishter is always part of us. And we're not alone. We're not actually alone. There's always the possibility of this connection, not just the possibility, the actuality of the connection. And to me, that seems very profound, because so many people suffer from depression and other issues where one of the big parts of depression is that feeling of isolation and loneliness. And yet, if you're able to contemplate this thought, it's I feel like it's a way of pushing away that loneliness.
Wow. That's so amazing, because you could go back to what we said of why
Yes.
Rebbe selected, and you think of the modern psyche, and it's like the Rebbe saying, here's your cure. Here's the cure for, yes, I did happen, don't ask me why, to stumble across that statistic when, what is the, I don't remember how it was phrased, but either the most prevalent illness in the world or the top disability in the world. I think that was it. Top disability in the world.
Yeah.
Depression, right there.
Right.
Depression. And as
Right.
you're saying that depression, that intense sadness that comes from loneliness. And the Rebbe is saying, world, you're never alone. You're never alone. You and God are one.
Yeah, it's a profound thought. I appreciate it.
It is. Wow. Anyone else? Any other ideas on how it would help you to think this daily, or why the Rebbe would have selected it?